Sony hasn't really been impressing me with how they handle the character of Spider-Man. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 was trash, Venom was fun in parts, but it's still just a soulless cash grab if we're being honest, and it honestly looks like only Marvel Studios are doing the character justice. However, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse has been looking pretty interesting ever since it was announced, and I've just become more and more hyped since then. So now, Into the Spider-Verse has finally arrived. It's time to review it.
Remember, what makes you different
Let's go!
is what makes you Spider-Man.
Officer?
I love you.
Wait, what?
So, since I saw this at an early screening, I'm going to keep this review 100% spoiler free, so don't worry. So ever since an animated Spider-Man movie was announced, I've just been super excited. It says Phil Lord and Chris Miller writing and producing, the guys who directed Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, the Lego Movie, the Jump Street movies, and 10% of Solo: A Star Wars Story. Before they were fired, because Disney loves firing talented directors for no good reason. So now that Into the Spider-Verse is out, I thought that it was just fantastic. I recently rewatched Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man Homecoming so I could decide which is the best Spider-Man movie, and in the end, I couldn't really make up my mind. Now I can decide. The best Spider-Man movie is this one, by far. Let's start off with the positives. I'm not too sure where to begin, because there's just so much that's great here. I guess I'll start off with the animation. I'm probably in the minority here, but when I saw the trailers, I was kind of iffy on the animation. It looked really impressive, but at the same time, it just seemed like a bit too much, and looked a little messy, but this isn't something that's apparent in the film. I settled into the animation style very early on, and I found a lot of it, especially during the film's final act, which I won't spoil, visually stunning. Like Doctor Strange, but even crazier. And yeah, that's all I'm gonna say about the final act. The characters are also amazing. Miles Morales is just so likable, and I'm glad they made him different from Peter Parker. He's not a social outcast, he has different interests like music and art. Also, I'm probably wrong, but I think one of Miles' artworks actually included a reference to the Raid 2. But that's probably not the case. Peter B. Parker is also really great, and it's pretty interesting to see an older, more worn-out Spider-Man. He reminded me a lot of Luke from The Last Jedi. Gwen Stacy is also great, and she has some really good chemistry with Miles. Other characters such as Spider-Man Noir, Penny Parker, and Spider-Ham aren't given as much development, it's mainly focused on these three. Spider-Man Noir is fantastic though, and Nicolas Cage is just phenomenal as usual.
Sometimes I let matches burn down to my fingertips just to feel something, anything.
Penny Parker's great, and I like how she's literally just an anime character in this 3D animated movie. Spider-Ham I thought would get really annoying, and I was worried his character would ruin the film for me. But, in my opinion, he was used just enough to where he never got annoying, and I thought some of his jokes were actually pretty clever. On that note, this movie is pretty funny, and most of the humor isn't dumbed down for little kids. This actually reminded me a lot of the Lego Batman movie, but if the Lego Batman movie had more heart, more memorable characters, the jokes didn't get old fast, and wasn't just a pointless cash grab. Sorry Lego Batman movie fans. There's also plenty of heart and emotion, and the film isn't afraid to get dark at points. The villains manage to feel like a real threat, people die in this movie, and it's not off-screen either. This feels a lot like a more mature Pixar movie, like The Incredibles or Up, and I'm just glad we're still getting animated kids movies that aren't afraid to tackle more mature themes. There's also the Stan Lee cameo, which I won't spoil, but because of where it was placed within the movie, I couldn't really help but get emotional. As for the negatives, there really isn't much to go through, like at all. Sunflower, one of the songs from the movie, is heavily promoted, and you see Miles Morales listening to it and singing along, but I really didn't mind, since I really like that song, and I've also been listening to it a lot since it was released. But if you didn't like that song, then you probably find the use of it in this film pretty annoying. But there's really not much else to complain about. This just has everything you want from a movie. It's visually stunning, the music's great, the characters are memorable, it's well written, and I have to give credit to the directors, Bob Persichetti, Peter Ramsey, and Rodney Rothman. Can't wait for the backlash once you guys don't get nominated for an Oscar because the Academy hates superhero movies. Overall, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse was probably the best movie I've seen so far this year, and is up there as one of the greatest superhero movies of all time. I'm gonna give Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse a 9 point... Nah, I'll give it a 10 out of 10. This movie deserves it. Anyway, that's what I thought about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Thanks for watching, I really appreciate it. If you want, you can follow me on Twitter @CinemaGeekYT. Leave a like and subscribe for more videos like this one.